Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. On behalf of Diaspora Rhythms Art Smart program, I would like to welcome you all to the March 25th, 2023 Art Smart, Art Acquisition and Care. The theme of today's program stems from the need to educate collectors and soon to be collectors on the do's and don'ts of acquiring and conserving your art. Our first topic is acquiring art. And for this topic, we would like to bring on Miriam Nadar. Miriam is a Haitian art dealer and certified art appraiser. She is also owner and president of Miriam Nadar Haitian Art Gallery in New York. Miriam, the floor is yours. Mute, Miriam. Unmute. It happens. It's okay.
Thank you, Manuel, for the warm introduction. And I'm very pleased to participate in the Art Smart Series 2023, Art Acquisition and Care. When I moved to New York from Florida 17 years ago, I opened my online Haitian art gallery because of its flexible schedule that will allow me to balance work with my private life, lower overhead costs, and worldwide exposure. I learned some new computer and marketing skills and took rigorous courses to become a professional and qualified art appraiser. And here I am with you today to converse about art acquisition offline and online. So first, let's talk about 5 important things to consider when buying art. Art has been an integral part of the human civilization for centuries, serving as a medium for expression, reflection, and storytelling. It can translate time and culture by projecting the human experience in ways that words often cannot. But beyond its cultural significance, art holds a unique power to transform our personal spaces and enrich our daily lives. Whether you're a seasoned collector or a first-time buyer, each piece will connect you with the artist's vision, make a personal statement, and add a touch of beauty and inspiration to your surroundings. Here are the 5 necessary considerations you must keep in mind when purchasing art. The first one, authenticity and condition. One of the most crucial things to consider when buying art is to ensure that the artwork you're buying is authentic and in good condition. Suppose you're buying a piece from a reputable gallery or dealer. In that case, they should be able to provide you with information about the artwork history and provenance, as well as any conservation or restoration work that has been done. If you're buying from an individual or online, ask for detailed photos and information about the artwork condition and authenticity, and whether it will require any specific display, care, or maintenance for conservation and value preservation. Second, artists and their reputation. The artist's reputation, history, medium, and style can all impact the artwork's value and appeal. Therefore, research the artist and their other works is better to understand their style, popularity, and critical acclaim. Consider how the artwork fits within the artist's oeuvre and whether it represents their style. Third, price and value. It's essential to establish a budget beforehand. Price may widely vary based on the artist's reputation, the rarity, the condition, the provenance, and size. Researching the market value of similar artworks and comparing prices from different sellers is essential. Be wary of deals that seem too good to be real and ensure you get a fair price for the artwork. Fourth, personal taste and style. Art is a subjective medium, and what appeals to one person may not appeal to another. Therefore, consider your taste and whether the artwork fits your aesthetic preference, collection, and home decor. Buy art that speaks to you and that you really enjoy for years. Five, do your due diligence to make an educated decision. Take your time. If you need more clarification on a piece of art, consider why you don't like it and whether you'll still like it in 5 or 10 years. So now that you have an idea how to do it, how to purchase art, now let's go to the steps to buy artworks online. In the last decades, selling art online has become trendy, especially during the pandemic. History shows us that buying art is used as a safe, stable, and secure investment vehicle during economic uncertainty. Investors may sell their stocks to acquire art to diversify and protect their wealth. However, art may or may not be a long-term investment. So I always advise my clients to buy what they mostly love and think is excellent after researching the art style, the subject, the size needed in the space they want to display it and within their budget. Once you know what you want, explore many secure and trustworthy art platforms, websites, social media before purchasing. Let it be a fun and relaxing things to do in your spare time, in the comfort of your home and office. You buy online. You need to feel the art in your heart and space. Visit art gallery, exhibition, museums, artist studios, email, video visit to understand the process. Important. Be aware of hackers and scammers over the net. Very important. Know your source. Always do your due diligence and ask intelligent questions. Let's say you're buying art from an artist directly. So what to ask an artist when buying an artwork online? Art is a powerful medium of expression that can evoke emotion, inspire ideas, and challenge our perception. As an art lover, buying artwork online can be an exciting experience, but choosing the right piece can also be challenging. Online artwork is a type of art that is created and displayed through digital media and the internet. It includes visual arts, digital painting, photographs, animation, videos, and interactive installations. Unlike traditional artwork enclosed in a physical space, online artwork has the potential to reach a global audience instantly, making it accessible to people from all over the world. One of the main advantages of online artwork is the ease with which it can be shared and distributed, and how can you view the art over and over again. Artists can easily create and upload their work to various online platforms, including social media, galleries, and digital art marketplaces. Asking the artist the right question is essential to ensure you make an informed decision. Here are the questions you should ask when buying art online from an artist. First, does the artist have a full biographic information like CV, exhibition history, catalogue raisonné, selected press on their website? If the artist is emerging and perhaps doesn't have a representation yet, follow them on their social media. It's a great way to familiarize yourself before committing. A studio or a video visit to understand their working practices. Second, ask them if they have other artworks available. How many have they previously sold? How long has it them to create art professionally? How long have been in the profession? Are they showing art in art galleries? Third, ask about the inspiration behind the artwork. Knowing the inspiration behind an artwork can help you understand the artist's thoughts, process, and intent. It can also give you a better appreciation of the artwork's significance and meaning. Ask the artist what inspired them to create the piece and their intended message. Fourth, material used to create the artwork. The material an artist used can affect the artwork's quality, durability, and value. Ask the artist what material they used to create the artwork, and if they were at any special care and instruction. Ask for the media of the artwork. The value of the work can be significantly different depending on the media. Ask, is it a unique piece or an edition? Photographs, sculpture most commonly come as editions. An edition can be a great way to buy artwork by an artist you like if the price point is out of your reach. 5, ask about the artist's creativity, approach, and training. An artist's creative process can be fascinating insight into the approach to art making. Knowing the artist's process can also give you an idea of the skill and expertise required to create the artwork. Ask the artist to describe their process, including any techniques they use and how long it took to create the artwork. How do they title their piece? Do they regularly return to specific subject or theme in their art? How do they describe their artistic style? 6, the intention of the composition and color palette. Understanding an artwork composition and color palette can help you appreciate its aesthetic qualities. Ask the artist about their intention with the composition and color palette and how it contributes to the overall message or meaning of the artwork. 7, the size of the artwork. Knowing that the artwork can help you determine where to display it and how it fits in your space is important. If applicable, ask the artist for the artwork dimension, including height, width, and depth, depending if you buy a painting or a sculpture. And also if it's frame. If not frame, if it is frame, it is frame, the size with the frame artwork. Because remember, you have to fit the whole thing in the space that you want, in the space that you want. 8, guarantees and warranties. All right. It's essential to know if the artist offers any guarantees and warranties for the artwork. Ask the artist if they offer return policies or guarantee the artwork, quality, and authenticity. Will the artwork be insured when shipped? We'll go after this at the bottom. We'll go further. 9, pricing policy. Ask the artist about their pricing policy, including discount, payment plan, taxes, shipping, and insurance costs. It's also essential to know if the artist offers any certificate of authenticity and appraisals. There are other critical considerations. Okay, so now you decide to get a piece online from an artist, and you have to, well, I say not only from the artist, but anywhere you decide to get it, you have to ask for the payment security. All right, so the art platform depends on the art platform you're purchasing. They should be able to take credit cards, PayPal, wire transfer, Stripe, ACH transfers. Ask them about the shipping and insurance in transit. how is the painting going to be shipped? Is it going to be shipped straight with the stretchers? Is it going to be shipped roll? And which carrier, shipping carrier? Also, the damage and return policy and process. This part is important too, in case something happened in the process, in the shipping. The quality of the photo posted online of the artwork, like if you buy online, because when you buy online, you buy on the picture. That sometimes I have my client asking a video call, seeing the painting itself. But the online picture has to be quite accurate on how it looks, how the painting or whatever you're buying look like. Review the testimonials from the other buyers and the reputation of the seller. The art platform should disclose in the footer their privacy policy, refund policy, shipping policy, and terms of services and accreditation. Like if the buyer, like a Better Business Bureau for someone with from in the United States, or association affiliations, things like that. So to conclude, buying artwork online can be an exciting and rewarding experience, but asking the right question is crucial to make an informed decision. By asking the artist about their inspiration, material, artistic process, composition, size, guarantees, and pricing policy, you can make an informed decision and purchase a piece of art you cherish for years. Remember, do your due diligence. Know your source and be aware of scammers and hackers on the net. Buy from trusted, established galleries, sellers, or artists. Before I finish, Menvel asked me to, to tell some stories, and I came up with some stories to illustrate some hiccups you may encounter, hence the need to be prepared for if you don't buy from a reputable gallery or seller. I remember, the first one I remember was, I had a client from California who bought, remember my website is on, my gallery is online. So she bought that piece from André Pierre, which is one of the famous Haitian painter. And then we FaceTime, email, text, we corresponded a lot of time. And then she decided to take it with the condition to return the piece if it doesn't fit her decor. Remember we talked about the decor? Okay, so now I said, fine, no problem. She gave me her credit card to charge half, all right, before shipping the artwork. I shipped the artwork, I didn't charge her. And half when she got it and be happy with it. Well, it ended up that it didn't fit her decor. So what do? The condition is the condition. So she shipped it back to me at her charge. Of course, it has to be in a good condition, the same condition that she received. She has to ship it back to me. And then I refund her fully. There's another example, another story. There was another client. I think she was from Chicago, actually. She bought a huge piece of Jean-Adrien Seid. Huge, like a 42 by 72, huge. And then once she got the artwork, she realized it was too big for the space. We spoke about the space. You have to know the size, what you need it for. So she contacted me, of course, and I accepted the return with a store credit because I didn't have any agreement with her. Like, you bought it, I'm assuming that you know what you're going to put it in the size. So, and I got her return, a store credit that she used a couple of months after for listen to that, a higher amount. So she bought for more. That's a happy ending. and what another one that was 2 days ago actually. A client that I bought a painting in 2021 was shipped to her house in Tampa. And then she finally opened the box 2 days ago. And she called me, Miriam, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. But I just opened the box and that's not what I wanted. I said, okay. After 2 years. I said, you just found out? Yes, yes, yes. I just opened the box. I said, okay, okay, no problem. But she's a very important client. She has been buying for me since my father was in the business. Imagine. I said, okay, no problem. Send it back. And then whatever you want, tell me, and I ship it to you free of charge. I haven't shipped it back to her yet, but on Monday I will. And lastly, I want to tell the story that Linton had previously when he bought a painting on the website, and then he had to be internationally shipped to here. So after, of course, he's doing his homework, video chat, text, email, blah. And then they ship it in good shape, but with a tracking number and insurance. But when they got it, it was during the COVID thing. And then what happened is at that time, DHL will use those machines, those mechanic, I don't know what to call them, those robots that will just pick the artwork, the package. So apparently the robot left a hole in the package that really gave a hole in the painting. And that's how Linton brought it to Peter, right? Peter, to restore, and Peter did a wonderful job. So that's how I wanted to end this presentation. And I thank you all. And if you have any question, I'd be happy to answer them.
Miriam, thank you very, very much. That was very informative. And thank you for bringing it home with Linton and Peter.
Yeah.
Definitely. But at this time, I wanted to switch it over to Chuck. Chuck, do we have any questions for Miriam?
Yes, we had a couple of questions. Hello, Miriam. Thanks so much for all of your information. Of course, it's always so very interesting. I think another interesting thing that we should definitely bring up is how you got your start in Haitian art. I know that you mentioned your father. Did you want to go a little more into detail, or just give us a little snippet of how this is in your family, so it's a part of your lineage?
Oh, yes, Chuck, that's my favorite part. So my father, George S. Nader, is the founder of all the Galerie Nader in the world, actually. He was the one who put Haitian art in the international map. Dad has been doing this since 1966, promoting Haitian art, and his name precedes him. Like if you talk, I mean, until now, the clients, you talk about George S. Nader, George Nader, it's like, yes, oh, I have many clients emailing me how fun it was to buy from my father, how he explained the artwork, the process was easy. He has collected couples, a lot of artworks from Haiti, and most of them are still in Haiti. When the devastating earthquake in 2010 happened, he kind of lost the property and some of the paintings. My brother George Jr. was able to salvage many of them, and now we have the whole gallery in one place in Pétionville. And that's at the time the Smithsonian Institute came and restored a couple of masterpieces there. to go back to that, to my father, comme dad, is he started when in the 1966 when Haiti was booming with tourism, and Haitian art was known. Like you would sell you just the marketing saying Haitian art, and we just sell. And that would publicize it. Like if you take the like books, publishing many books, you will have newsletters talking about the artist. You will have events, exhibitions. Um, just to tell you how much he put his not only his work, but that was his passion. That is still his passion, actually. He's still alive, thank God. 91 years old.
Wow.
And yeah, he's always asking me about the business, always there to guide me, always happy how I'm doing, how we all doing in the business. And I think that's what make him an icon in the Haitian art world. He's the icon, and nobody. I mean, his name remains as a legacy in the Haitian art. Yeah.
That is amazing. That's amazing. I know some of the points of some of the questions that came through, you hit on some of them about authenticity, and then even about shipping. But we had some specific questions about payment, about authenticity, and about shipping.
Sure.
Okay. So Linton has had a very, very good question about payments.
Okay.
And, I know that you listed them, the ACH and credit card, direct pay, things of that nature. What do you think is the safest, the most reliable, just in case something happens, or if you need to reverse a payment, something that way? What's your preferred line of payment when you're buying online or out of the country?
I would say it depends when you from whom you're buying. If you want like credit card would probably be the one that you could dispute.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, when you're disputing credit card payment, you first have to contact the seller and explain to the seller what happened, and the seller, you have to have everything documented.
Yeah.
And the seller must respond to you also and document it. And then, because they investigate, not that you can dispute, because some people could just receive the art and saying that they did not save it, but they dispute the transaction. In terms of the ACH transfer takes about 3 days. Internationally, it won't work because ACH transfer works only for those domestic transfers. The wire transfer is internationally is in the same day. Stripe is kind of same kind of like the credit card, but for return, I would definitely go back to the seller first. And then one thing is important is that every time you should ask them to ship an artwork, it has to be not only well packed, and you'll be surprised, some artists don't even know how to pack an artwork.
Oh, I experienced that during the pandemic.
Yeah, because when you wall the artwork, when you hold the canvas, the exterior has to show. It has to be walling like that. And Peter can tell you for the preservation, it has to go on the other. So they will be so eager to sell, they will not even wait for the painting to be dry and ship it and wall it, and they will completely damage it. That would probably for the artist. Myself, my paintings are all dry, all ready to, and I know how to ship. I've been doing that for 23 years. So I know that. And so just to say that it depends on from whom you're buying, that's why I insist the seller must be reputable, trustworthy, because when you deal with this kind of sellers, when I say seller, it can be an artist, it can be an art dealer, it can be an art gallery, whether online or offline. And you have to do your due diligence on what you're buying. Sometimes people can pretend to be someone they are not. And sometimes also when you buy online, you have to make sure that it is the original that you're buying. At the same time, you can see, okay, let me go back. Let me see if I take you. If I take one painting of myself, the same painting, I put it in 4 platforms. So you will see the same painting in 4 platforms. Does it mean that they're copies? It's me selling it in 4 platforms. All right. So this kind of questions you have to ask, and ask. Okay, until you really understand the process. All right.
Okay. Another question that also came up in a couple of different ways, and it actually happened to me. I went to a show last week. It was someone that was selling a well-known artist. I've been following him probably for about 25, 30 years myself, since I was a young lad, I would say.
Nice.
And at that time, I wasn't able to get a piece of his work. I wasn't at the level where I am now, but I was able to inquire about it. And the young lady the artist wasn't there. She proceeded to show me some pieces. And I saw a piece that I absolutely loved. I looked at it. She gave me the price, but it wasn't signed.
Okay. Is it contemporary artist?
Yes. Everything else was signed except for this one.
Sometimes they sign in the back.
The only thing in the back was the price.
Was the price. And sometimes you won't even believe it. They forget to sign it, but you have to be careful. The signature is important.
Right. Okay. So I left it there. I just wanted to make sure.
Have you really inspected, because they can sign anywhere in the painting?
No, it was a watercolor.
Yeah.
It was, so it would have been prevalent. Is
there any catalog raisonné that you can go back to?
No, she had like maybe 15 pieces in a portfolio, and she was basically selling them for him. But it kind of put me off. Right. So I kind of moved around, but I said that I would reach out to the artist, and because she was like, well, I can take the payment, and then I can take it back with me. He can sign it and he can bring it back. I'm like, no, I will do that.
Myself, if that happened to me, what I will do is that I will take the painting to the painter, to the artist, to sign it. Then call you and say, now here's or make you meet with the artist, since the artist is in the same town, and then to make you feel comfortable.
Right.
But
I
will not pay before.
No, I didn't do that. And one final question for you. Limited editions. Is there a number that can be set too high for limited editions that I would say would be too large in order to invest in? What's your take on limiteds versus originals?
Well, definitely original have more value. Unless the old masters, they still have value, but originals have the more values. The limited edition, the one they do it like they can do 1 out of 1,000. That's a lot already, or 1 out of 250. The 250 means, or the 1,000 means that's the maximum that they will reproduce. So the less reproduction, the higher is the value, but still cannot equal to the original painting, to the value of the original. you know. But it's if you cannot, like, if you know, it's valuable too. Like if you want to buy a Pablo Picasso, I mean, most likely you won't be able to buy it at this price range, but you can
Mhm.
get limited edition
Right.
for thousands, you know,
Hmm.
not millions.
Right.
But you have
I,
again and again, you have to make sure of the source where you're buying. And I insist, reliable source, do your due diligence. There's a lot of people out there who wants to sell because now it's very trendy to sell online, and you'll find a lot of scammers and you know, it's you have to be careful.
all right. We have one final question from the audience. She says, does she have any comments about buying art while traveling in the country of the artist? Um, so should you ask questions prior to buying it?
I'm not following the question.
Yeah, the question.
Like if let's say the if you say if she's buying, let's say, from a Haitian artist from Haiti and I'm selling it in here, or I'm not following exactly.
Or let's say that you buy it. I think she means that if you buy it while you're traveling in Haiti and the artist may not be around, how would you be able to make sure that that artist is reputable, or if it is a good buy?
Well, if the art is no longer around, you have to be from a reputable art
Mhm.
gallery, or art platforms. It cannot be if the or it's again the same thing. You have to do your due diligence and
Yeah.
investigate the source and do your research. You don't buy from anybody. I mean, you have to know. It
Yeah.
has to be reputable. Not any art gallery is a reputable one. When you can have the guarantee that you know um, it can be returned, or if the process happened not to be what you think it was, and then you can dispute it and talk to them, and they can guarantee you things that even the artist cannot guarantee you.
Yeah. I think just with travel, period, they when you go to different countries, they kind of prey on tourists,
So
and you have to be very, very careful.
to be
Uh,
very
I would kind of practice what my dad taught me. If you aren't willing to gamble that cost and gamble that money, don't spend too much um,
yeah.
that you're not going to lose, I guess, just in case it's not something that is authentic. Make sure that you love that piece.
Yeah, that's a good advice. Let me tell you too, Chuck. Like before you buy, usually you research the artist. You know,
Mhm.
you have an eye, you have a feeling of how the artwork should look like, or the composition, what I talked previously. So, and when you come across a painting, it's a painting, and then it does not feel right because you already have acquired the eye, like the flair, and then you've seen it many times to other. Then, if it doesn't feel right to you, then most likely it's not right.
Right. Mhm.
All
So
right. That
yeah,
would be
definitely.
my advice. So be careful. You can always come back and then do it and tell them, okay, you're going to do some research and then ask them more information, the provenance. Provenance is very important. Not only one provenance, the history of the provenance. Yeah, the thread history of the provenance. There's a lot of things you can back it up with. You know,
Yeah. So do your research, and if you not in an area where you can do your research, go with your gut.
your gods.
Right.
And there is actually a case in court. I don't know if you, I don't want to speak. I'm sorry. I'm out of time, probably. Uh, I'm sorry. Okay. I'm
No,
just saying,
go ahead and finish your last
Go
statement,
ahead. Go ahead.
please.
sorry, Ms. there's a case actually going on about fake documentation
Mm-hmm.
in the museum. I mean, the person, the seller, I think, was fabricating those documentation, and it's in court. So they can fabricate anything. even they can fabricate the provenance, they can fabricate the certificate of authenticity. Everything can be fabricated nowadays.
Yeah.
So again, my last word, sorry, really my last word is to be very cautious and follow your guts.
Mhm. Thanks, Miriam. Always a pleasure talking to you. And I'm sure we'll be hearing more from you after we hear from Peter. But now I'm going to turn it back over to Manvel so he can go on and introduce Peter before he gets on the road.
Thank you. Thank you, Chuck.
Thank you all very much, Miriam. Thank you. And Chuck, thank you for those questions.
No problem.
So for our second topic, caring for your art, we would like to bring on Peter Schoeman. Peter is a director of painting and mural conservation at Parma Conservation here in Chicago. Peter, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Manvel. Thank you very much. If I could segue to Miriam's comment of fakery in the business. There is an awful lot of fakery, and hopefully my talk is going to illuminate some of the ways that you can suss out such fakery. But I've been a conservator for 25 years in Chicago. Conservation work involves mainly care for artwork in a manner that involves cleaning it. You know, it can have grime, it can have varnish that is discolored. Repair, you know, a painting can have tears, it can have flaking paint, it can have mold, it could have a number of different types of damage. We're interested in protecting and preserving the work. We're interested in stabilizing the work, and that means the artist's materials, which of course can degrade over time. And most importantly, a conservator is most concerned about respecting the life and the history of the artwork and doing no harm. So it's a lot to unpack, and to be respectful. You know, we treat every work, whether it's grandma's portrait or something more important from a museum, with the same respect, and the same process of inspection and investigation goes into all of our work. But quickly, people usually ask me, you know, how did you get into conservation? Well, there are two roads. You can go through a program. There are 3 schools in the United States that teach graduate level conservation. One of them is in, well, 2 are in New York. One's New York University. The other is Buffalo State University. And then there's a program at the University of Delaware. The less common road is to become an apprentice-trained conservator, which is what I am. And when you go that route, it's very important who you learn from. And I was very lucky to obtain an apprenticeship from an AIC fellow. That's the American Institute for Conservation, an AIC fellow here in Chicago by the name of Barry Bauman. He introduced me to my future wife and business partner, Elizabeth Kendall, who was taught in Italy from Edo Mazzini. You don't know what that means, but if you trained with Mazzini in Italy, you were made. And she had a 16-year career in Italy. She's the best conservator I know by far. And, you know, whether you train or, you know, if you do an apprenticeship, it's important to continue your education. It's important whether you do an apprenticeship or go through a school, you want to continually be seeking out people who have skills that you need. I mean, you have to know so many things in this field that, you know, it's really good to seek out other experts. And I did have a slide. I was fortunate enough to work at the United States Capitol for Christiana Cunningham Adams. who worked for 25 years conserving the Brumidi corridors there. I've been lucky enough to work with others such as Frank Zuccari here in Chicago, the late, great Frank Zuccari from the Art Institute of Chicago, Stefano Scarpelli, who was a visiting conservator at our laboratory in 2003, and many, many others. But a good conservator will adhere also to the AIC, which is the American Institute for Conservation. They have a code of ethics and guidelines for practice. It's very important that when you seek out a conservator, that you ask if they follow the American Institute for Conservation code of ethics and guidelines for practice. A good conservator has to know their art history. They have to know chemistry and physics. They have to know color theory, color matching. You have to have an intimate understanding of artist materials and conservation materials, and you have to know how to use them. Studio art skills can be helpful. For example, I've been an artist. I've been painting since I was in second grade. I went to art school. I trained at the Academy of Fine Art in Florence. All of that, but you don't need to be an artist. You have to be skilled with materials. You have to have a feel for materials, and you have to, it's a lifelong endeavor to master materials and to be a skilled technician. It takes years of bench work and training, and it's a lifelong pursuit. But since we're talking today about collecting and connoisseurship, I wanted to introduce how conservation relates to that by sharing some of our analytical tools. I have some slides, and I'm going to explain what these tools do and what they show. So, here's a good one. This is me and a pair of loops. We often we need to do things under good magnification, especially if there are tiny repairs. So that's one tool. Next slide, please. This is me at the Capitol with Christiana Cunningham Adams, which I mentioned. One of my favorite mentors, by the way. Next slide. Okay. For the first slide, this is an X-ray. This is a 17th century Flemish painting, and the client came to us and said, the provenance shows a picture of this painting from the 1930s, and it doesn't really look anything like it looks today. So one of the services that Parma has in-house are X-ray services. And so we put this under the X-ray, and what you see on, I guess it's the right-hand side, is what that X-ray shows. First of all, you can see it doesn't look like the lady on the left. And you will also see some voids near her mouth, on her nose, up by her hair, near her ear. It looks like she might have some sort of earring on. And off to the right, there's also a horizontal mark. Now, what is this revealing? So X-rays, just like you go to the doctor, X-rays, they penetrate the layers and they get slowed down by dense material. And then when the rays pass through, the rays that are able to pass through expose the film and become darker. So what this does is gives us, depending on the density of the materials, it will make an image. And here we're seeing the voids where the X-rays were able to pass through is actually revealing past damage. In fact, by her mouth, that original paint is completely missing. On her nose, it's completely missing. Near her ear, there's original paint, which is missing. And I should add it's there's a little bit of a filling material, epoxy filling material that the X-ray passed through. So this is why it can be important to have some artwork in some contexts forensically examined to determine, what the original shape of the artwork is, and what lies underneath. So in this case, the face was completely repainted. It's not an original face. It's very good. Whoever painted it was a skilled painter, but it's not an original 17th century Flemish head. So that's one insight that conservation analytics can do to help you authenticate your artwork. We could go to the next slide. Okay, this is another tool in our shop. This is a 17th century British oil on panel painting. And we used infrared in this case to image some of the hidden damage on this painting. So what infrared, whereas X-rays we use to image dense material, and primarily what you see lit up, we say lit up in the X-ray are leaded pigments, lead white primarily. Infrared images carbon. So the artist would have a panel. They prepare it with gesso, really smooth, and then they would apply pencil marks and charcoal. So the black and white image, what we're looking at literally is pencil marks and charcoal shading, chiaroscuro of the underpainting, if you will. And so we also see a lot of white marks. Now, that's where the infrared wasn't able to pick up any carbon. So we could ascertain from that the actual gesso panel had some damage. And in fact, on the left, when we began to clean the varnish, we could see precisely where.
Excuse me 1 second, Peter. I apologize.
Well, that's fine.
Excuse me, can we all make sure that we all mute? It's important that we stay muted. Can we mute this person? 1 second, Peter.
Tony, can you mute all and then Peter unmute?
Okay. So we use this image, if we could pull that up again, to actually see what the damage was before we started cleaning. And that helps the owner, and it also helps us because we could, instead of the owner thinking that perhaps we might have done the damage, we can say, well, no, we've imaged it, and as we remove the varnish, you're going to see these little spots of yellow, which is the exposed gesso, which we've imaged ahead of time with the infrared. So that's a neat tool. It can also, it's useful. Somebody mentioned a signature that was missing. If there are any pencil marks at all, and even if they're faint, infrared imaging might be able to detect that. And sometimes artists can sign a piece in a darker region of the picture, for example, and infrared has the ability to pick up that carbon if it's different from the other dark pigment, and that can be useful. But we could go to the next slide. My last conservation tool that we use is ultraviolet light. So the picture on the left and the picture on the right are the same painting. The only difference is one is illuminated with ultraviolet light and the other is illuminated in daylight. And so, you can say, oh my goodness, what's going on with all of those purple specks? Well, the UV is actually imaging past restoration work in this painting. So in other words, wherever you see purple, there was some previous damage that a restorer went in with a brush and actually retouched all of those areas. And so you can see that this painting actually had a lot of paint loss in the face, a lot of paint loss, and there was actually a tear that went, through the neck that way, and there was another tear that went up toward the cherub that's sitting on the lady's shoulder. And so this is a powerful tool. And I tell people, if you go into, this is also a 17th century painting, by the way. If you go into any museum, and they allowed you to actually carry a black light with you, and you were able to actually shine it on these paintings, you would see that every single one of the paintings in the museum will have some sort of past restoration work done to it so that it can be presented. And this work was actually done in our shop. It's very fine work. Conservation is as it suggests. We're conservative, so we want to put our compensations only where they need to be and nowhere else. So in other words, even though that head had a lot of damage, we use magnification and we use our skills, and we're not conserving time to do it, but we spend a lot of time reconstructing the areas that are damaged. And that can be helpful. I think as connoisseurs, if you had access to a portable blacklight and you were able to actually use it to look at the artwork before a purchase, that could tell you a lot. And you could consult a conservator to help you understand what you're looking at as well.
Peter, thank you for all of that. It's so interesting to see what you do. And when we were speaking the other day, I almost pictured you as like a little plastic surgeon, the way that you have to go in and do things so intricately. So we did have some questions, and some of them were kind of the same. So I'm going to try and wrap them all into one. Basic care of your artwork.
Yes.
People that smoke cigars and cigarettes in the house. We know what it's doing to their lungs, but I'm sure that it's also damaging their artwork as well. And just basic cleaning. There's a lot of, I know here in Chicago, there's a lot of road work that's going on. So you're constantly dusting.
Yes.
What are some tips or some things that we can do in order to make sure that we keep the value of our art up, and also make sure that we keep it clean?
Right. Well, that's a very good question. You don't want to be overzealous with thinking about cleaning a painting. Every time you clean a painting, no matter how conservative you are with your materials, no matter how skilled you are to separate the grime from the artwork, there's going to be some microscopic abrasion, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, little by little by little by little. So we only recommend that a painting be cleaned every 50 years, no more than that. So unfortunately, if somebody's smoking around their artwork, and the painting was just cleaned 10 years ago, I would say you're just going to have to wait and move it somewhere else. Stop smoking in here. Stop getting the smoke on my artwork, go someplace else. But, paintings have a life of their own. They need to rest, they need to just sort of be as they are, just as much as as anyone. We often tell people, if you sat in one spot for 70 years, your face would be dark as the dirt in the ground, just from the ambient slow accumulation of particles in the air that you cannot see. And we've done a lot of work for Depression era artwork, which has never been cleaned before in the Midwest, around the Midwest. And especially, and it's true, if you work around an environment that has coal firing plants, if you had some kind of fossil fuel heating in your home, that makes the situation worse. The accumulation will be, much more severe in those cases. But yeah, it's even if you have a pristine room, over time, 50, 60, 70, 80 years, you're gonna notice that the painting needs to be cleaned. So did that answer your question? I'm not
It
sure.
did. Yeah,
Okay.
it definitely did.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you don't want to use water, and you don't want to use any type of chemical on it, or just light dusting or something like that. But
Right.
just know that it is going to take away from your piece, even if it's something that is not noticeable to
Right.
the eye. Okay.
Right. And when we analyze a painting before we clean it, we do material testing. We have to test to see what how soluble it is in a range of solvents, including water, which is actually one of the most polar solvents. Can be one of the most dangerous solvents for artwork, particularly certain types of artwork. Uh, Hydrocarbon solvents. But we were looking, if we use water-based cleansing anything, it's toleranced for pH. There's a range, can't be too high, can't be too low. We use what are called chelators, chelation.
Mhm.
It's kind of like if you go to the doctor and you have like high iron, they might say, well, we need to chelate that iron. Similarly, we chelate what are called metals that are sort of these these ligands on metal salts, and dirt can combine with those salts very, very tenaciously. Like you would never be able to scrub that dirt off, but you can use chelation chemistry to sweep that salt away, and the dirt will sweep away with it. So, and of course, the cleansers that we use, we call them surfactants. They're very, very mild. We use a type that actually, instead of worrying about the residue, it'll actually evaporate after we use it. So,
Oh wow.
yeah, we
Okay.
always recommend a conservator to clean the artwork.
All right. Let's see. Oh, another question. And Miriam, you also can chime in on this as well. What is the best way when you have something that is stretched, or needs to be stretched? Is it best to have it shipped stretched, or shipped rolled?
So if it has to be shipped internationally, I would recommend to have it rolled.
Okay.
If it have to be shipped domestically with the stretchers, I will do it with the stretchers. Of course, it will cost the buyer a little bit more money, but it's not that much difference, And it depends also. If it's an oil painting, I will not roll it at all. And some of them, if they're on hardboard, there's no way you can. It's always good to send it the way it is to preserve it. And the way you ship it, the way you pack it also is important. You have to pay acid-free paper, then you have to put bubble wrap, and then carton. It's another way to do it. Or you take it to your USP, what's it called? UPS store. They have those kind of services. They do it for you, and they do it well. Yeah.
Peter, do you find that you have a lot of damaged pieces that you have to repair just from shipping?
Oh yeah, that happens all the time, all the time.
Customs, right? At
Pardon me?
The customs does that, or that does that?
Oh, just any, sometimes people ship from with UPS or,
Mm.
they don't take the time to make sure that it's like double boxed and padded, and accidents can happen. We also say, if you're going to ship anything, choose the most expedited shipping, even if it's more expensive, because the less time it's out there, the less risk there is.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's true.
Mhm.
That's true. But Peter, what I do when I ask like the artists some of the artists I that I sell are outside of or not with me in New York, or
Yeah,
either in Haiti or outside of New York.
sure.
When they go to UPS to do it, so I ask them to stay there and watch them doing it and
Uh-huh.
take pictures.
Sure.
So they will take pictures before and then make sure everything is set and have them insured. Because when you have them insured, they take much more careful care
Right.
with the package, because they know that they have to reimburse you. So they're
Right.
more careful with it. The
Yeah.
other thing is that they might not be like, for paintings, like very expensive one, 20,000, 25,000, they might not be willing to give you the full insurance. So you have to buy additional insurance.
Mhm.
Some carriers allow it, some carriers don't allow it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's yeah, I don't know what to say. I mean, education, the more educated that the collector is, the more that they can, oversee what's going on, obviously. So we always say also, if something is going to be shipped and it's unstretched, um, you know, the tube should be fairly,
Mm-hmm.
large, right? The
Mhm.
larger the better. The picture plane should be on the outside, not the inside. You don't want
Right.
the picture to be folded, pinching on itself. You want it to be a gradual outside curvature. And then if you can have another tube, and plastic, of course, soft plastic. If you can have another tube as a sheath going over it, that helps to,
Yeah.
yeah. But still, accidents can happen. You have a forklift, ram through something. There's not a lot that's going to prevent that unless you have, a huge crate. I mean, so yeah, just watch is a good idea. Watch is a good
Mhm.
idea.
And them
With
insured.
instructions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you have the artwork insured, then you should cover Peter's fees.
Maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of fees, I know that a lot of people think that conservation repairs, things of that nature, can be costly, even though definitely because it's so meticulous in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Um, um, Things, and I know that it can vary. Like there was a question about, when it is shipped to you, you might have dents. Like I have bought pieces that were maybe like a limited edition, um, that have small dents or creases in it when it comes, things
Yeah.
of that nature. Is it worth it to get those things fixed, or do you think, let it go, or what's kind of like? And I know it would be totally hard to base
Yeah.
this and price something that you don't see because you have to look at it. But pricing, can you give us an idea how that is?
Sure, sure. And our shop, our rate is roughly 120 an hour, depending on the difficulty or what the job entails. That being said, we charge the same for Grandma's portrait as we would for Pablo Picasso. So the dent in a Pablo Picasso is going to cost the same as the dent in Grandma's portrait. So that's, you know, that misconception that the value of the artwork has something to do with the cost of conservation, I can dispel that right there. But in terms of, a dent in the canvas, sometimes those can be treated locally, which takes less time. Oftentimes, for canvas deformation, we will have to take a canvas off of the stretcher and put it on. We have these tables, these vacuum tables to help control, with controlled humidity and heat, we can get all of those deformations to settle down and be as they were originally. And that can take more time, because then you have to go through these steps, unfortunately, to then re-stretch it, which isn't a small thing. Somebody in the chat was actually mentioned, yeah, should you have it, going back to, should it be shipped unrolled or should it be shipped stretched? And I would say, just ship it as it is. You would never want to take something off of the stretcher just to ship it, because some damage could happen in that process. It's not without its danger, that operation. And, conversely, if an artist had painted the work and it wasn't stretched, don't ask them to then stretch it, because, unless it was an artwork that was painted on a stretched canvas from the start, it's a lot different to take it and try to make it, put it on a stretcher if it was never ever on a stretcher before. And that's something that a specialist should also be consulted about, usually. Not always, but usually. You have to have things with the right tension, and you want a stretcher that is keyable, so that you can give it the right tension. And and a lot of times the artist might not know that. So another reason to at least consult a conservator. Whenever I get a phone call, I'm always willing to give free advice over the phone, or give a referral to somebody who might be able to help them if it's not in my wheelhouse or my area of expertise. So,
last question for you. Art has really changed over the years. There is a lot of mixed media art. So have you found yourself having to go back and get schooling or research things that people are using, glass, mirrors, wood, things of that nature with art? What's your take on how art has changed and evolved over the last few years that made you also have to evolve in the last few years?
Well, I don't like it. No. Artists are going to be artists, and they're going to push it. And, I would love them to use traditional materials and, keep me out of school. But you're right. You have to, and oftentimes if that happens, you have to call the artists. You have to get, that's part of the research, and, sometimes get them involved. That's just how it goes these days. The conservator, what a conservator can add is perhaps, there are a lot of different materials, adhesives, things like that, and I forgot to mention this, the materials that a conservator uses need to be reversible. That's part of our code of ethics. We don't want to use materials that even the artist originally used, for example, because, we know that oil paint can alter and darken over time, things like that. We want to be able to use materials that don't alter and are reversible, so that anything that we do can be undone, whether it's because the client doesn't like it, they might take it to somebody else and have it redone. We don't want to do anything that's too permanent. So, but yeah, and consultation with artists is a common thing, especially if they're alive, for a conservator.
One more, I'm sorry. And this is for Miriam and for you. Um, any young African American students that have an interest in definitely conservation, appraisals, things of that nature, what's your best advice in trying to find someone that you would be able to contact about being an apprentice, if it's interesting to them? Is it any type of programs that you all know of or can get back to us that we can give out, to our followers or group members that can help diversify these careers? Any advice?
You want to go first, Miriam, or?
Well, the first thing that came to mind would be to contact the big association for appraisal, like ASA, ISA, AOA. I can send a list and then they can ask around. They have a list of people they can contact. I'll send the information over. I don't have
Thanks.
them.
Perfect. Yes, and we'll make sure it comes out. What about you, Peter?
Yeah, similarly, the American Institute for Conservation, they are a good resource for that as well. In Chicago, at Columbia College, I don't know if they still have the program, but they have a pre-conservation program there at the college, which is sort of an overview of conservation for artwork and in different disciplines, not just paintings, but also objects and paper. That's the other thing I didn't mention is, I specialize in paintings. So anyone out there with paper, you can call me. I'm not going to be working on it, but I'll give you a referral for someone who can. But other than that, there's so many aspects to conservation. Start painting. Develop your skills. Start reading about art history. You're going to have to know some chemistry and physics. Get interested in science, and if after that, and try to find an apprenticeship. Or an internship. We take at Parma, we take pre-program interns, which means to get into one of those 3 schools, you have to do, I forget how many hours, I think 800 hours of internship to even qualify to get into the school. And so we take serious students who are trying to get into one of the 3 conservation schools. But yeah, they can reach out to Parma as well, and I can reiterate some of what I've said and maybe add some more.
All right. Perfect. I thank you both so much for all of your information. I'm going to turn it over to Manvel for our close. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Chuck.
No problem.
Thanks a lot, Chuck. Peter, don't mute yet. I do have one bonus question for you.
Okay.
And this is the one I've been wanting to ask you since I've met you.
Oh, okay.
All right. So I understand direct light is not good for art.
Oh, yes.
But the other question is, what about indirect light? Because I have some huge patio doors, and I just constantly have light coming into my place, just like any other individual. Right. Am I risking my art, even though the light is not directly hitting my art? Am I risking anything?
Yeah, unfortunately, UV is going to UV, and whether it's bouncing off something or if it's right in your face, it's there. It's in the incandescent light that I have, although that's not as strong as like if I had a fluorescent light, for example. But they say that low levels of light, frequent low levels of light over a long period of time is the same as having, direct exposure to a strong, source over a short time. So the cumulative effect is just as bad as if you had it in direct sunlight.
My question is, should artwork be hung over a working fireplace? Because lots of fireplaces have artwork. I mean, that's, almost a natural location for a piece of art.
Thank you for that question, Jean. Jean is one of the members of the education program, so she's allowed to ask that bonus question. But Peter, can you go ahead and give us a response to Jean?
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it personally. And I've had fireplaces, and it's also the smell. You don't want those volatile organic compounds floating around and stinking up your artwork, because then you're going to have to bring it to me, and I'm going to have to do a deodorization treatment with hydroxyl gas, and that's going to cost you $100 an hour. And you don't want to spend that kind of money when you could just keep it off of the mantle and not have to worry about it. So actually, we wouldn't charge you by the hour for that. It would be a flat fee, but still, it will take weeks to get that smell out, and we'll have to do some cleaning to get that smell out too. And so, I would say, yeah, don't do it. It's a bad idea.
All right, that was definitely our last question. And thank you, Jean. That was a good question, because in the movies, you see art over the fireplace all the time. But nonetheless, we know that's not a safe practice going forward. So at this time, this brings this portion of our program to an end. I would like to thank Miriam and Peter for their participation. This has been a very informative event. Truly thank you both for basically participating and supplying this information to our audience today. Thank you very much. Before I completely close out, I would like to state that Diaspora Rhythms is a not-for-profit organization, as I previously mentioned. In 2003, Diaspora Rhythms was founded by Carol Briggs, Joan Chrysler, Patrick McCoy, and Daniel Parker as a result of a panel discussion at the Southside Community Arts Center's Collectors Forum, where a spirited discussion demonstrated the need for organized action by art collectors to expand the appreciation of contemporary visual art created by artists of the African diaspora. With great pride, I am happy to announce that this year we are celebrating our 20th anniversary. We will be having various programs throughout the year, and on Friday, October 6th, Diaspora Rhythms, in association with Navy Pier, will present Perspective. This is the theme of our exhibition of fine artwork celebrating our 20-year anniversary. The exhibition will host artwork from various members of our organization who have collected these items over the years, and it will be curated by artist Raymond Thomas. Please save the date and be on the lookout for various programs we will be hosting throughout the year. Once again, I would like to thank our panelists for their participation, Tony Smith for production, Chuck Fowler as the moderator, members of the education program for putting this together, Talmadge Mason and Bello of WeBook for the promotions, and most of all, you all for being a great audience. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. See you next time.